Hello and welcome to Talking Europe. We're here in the European Commission studios, and my guest today is Apostolos Tzitzikostas. Hello and welcome. You are the European Commissioner for Sustainable Transport and Tourism. You were previously the President of the European Committee of the Regions and also previously the Governor of the region of Central Macedonia. Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I would like to start first because much of Europe has just gone through a massive heat wave, and we know that it sort of showed a little bit of the fragilities of the European rail network especially, and there has been a push in Europe to be more sustainable, to favor train rather than planes or cars, but would these heat waves and how disrupted the rail network was throughout these past few weeks, is the European rail network ready for more travelers and more heat waves, more extreme weather?
Yes, well, what happened last week with the heat wave was another good example why we need to upgrade our infrastructure to make it more resilient to extreme weather conditions like the heat waves. And of course, at this point, we're at a very good level, but we need to upgrade even more our infrastructure to make sure that we are ready for what is coming. Because the climate crisis is here, we see it every year, it's getting worse. So we need to get ready, we need to be ready, and we will be ready. Last week, I was in Berlin to inaugurate the high-speed rail line that is connecting Berlin, Copenhagen, and Prague. And in exactly this model, we are going to be upgrading our infrastructure in order to deliver a high-speed rail for all Europeans by 2040. This is the action plan that we presented, that will basically connect all major cities and capitals in Europe with high-speed rail, sustainable mode of transport, friendly to the environment, but also easy for the citizens and the passengers to access.
And so those have the infrastructure that will sustain all that extra traffic and those extreme weather conditions?
We have done an assessment. We know which parts need upgrades and which parts are already good and resilient, if you want. So we will be working in the coming years towards upgrading the infrastructure whenever it's needed and wherever it's needed, so as to create a high-speed and safe network for all Europeans. And what is very important also, since we are talking about rail here, is that we presented a passenger package a month ago, which will basically make it much easier for passengers to book, buy, and travel cross-border in Europe.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this a little bit later, but since you're mentioning it, concretely, what can Europeans expect when they're booking? How is that going to work?
Well, they will be able to use one site, one platform, and be able to book and buy a ticket, even if it is cross-border, even if it is with different companies, even if it is with different modes of transport, and at the same time be covered with passenger rights, meaning that you will buy one single ticket, so you will be able to use one ticket for what today could bring you up to 2, 3, or even 4 tickets if the trip is long. So we are making it easier, we are making it faster, we are making it fairer, price-wise, and so people will know now much better how they could book, buy, an actual travel on a cross-border trip that would allow them to use different companies, different modes of transport, and be covered from the passenger rights. So it's a very important step towards making it much more easier and much more attractive to our visitors and to our citizens.
I want to go back to the past few months, and of course we know that there was a huge energy crisis because of the war in Iran, and obviously the transport economy was heavily impacted, especially those that rely on fossil fuel. How how important was that impact, and has this comforted those like you who have been sort of pushing for the transport economy in Europe to sort of get greener, get more sustainable? How has that played into this idea?
Well, getting into a more sustainable way of transport today, it's not only about the environment anymore. It is about the environment, of course, but it is also about our strategic independence, because we saw what it means to be dependent energetically from third countries. So what we need to do, and what we have been doing here in Europe, is investing in homegrown clean energy, because this way we can be energy independent, and this way we will not have to deal with the impacts of crises like the crisis that we have now in the Strait of Hormuz. And it's very obvious that all these efforts to be energetically independent has now shown us that it was a successful choice. So now what we are doing is we are trying to create the environment for the production of alternative fuels in Europe. This is why I presented the STIP, the Sustainable Transport Investment Plan, which will actually boost the production of alternative fuels, e-fuels, biofuels in Europe, mostly to be used by our airlines and, of course, by shipping. But at the same time, we have created the battery booster, which will allow us to actually begin the production of batteries here in Europe, EU-made batteries, so that we don't become dependent in the future, since, especially when we talk about cars, we're going to electromobility. We need to make sure that we will not be dependent on batteries from third countries again. So again, energy dependent. So what we're doing now is we're basically investing heavily on how to create our own energy production in Europe. This is the only way we can tackle the effects of a crisis today or tomorrow that would influence not only the supply in some cases, but also the prices. And this is a very big problem that we are facing today.
Talking about prices in general, but specifically in aviation, there was the higher jet fuel prices that meant higher ticket prices for Europeans to travel. The fuel prices seem to be going down, the ticket prices not so much. We're at the start of the busy travel season for a lot of Europeans. What can we expect? What's the situation right now?
Well, as you know, as I've been very straightforward from the very beginning, there is no supply issue for jet fuel in Europe. Why? Because 70% is produced here in Europe. We have diversified our imports from other areas such as the US and other places, which is helping us cope with the 20% that we have been importing from the Strait of Hormuz and that now cannot arrive, obviously. So we don't have an issue of supply. We have an issue of prices. The prices have at some point even doubled from the pre-war levels, which created this problem with the tickets. The tickets rose by 10 to 30%, depending on how short or long distance was the flight. And also we had a lot of cancellations. The cancellations of flights that happened in the past months, in the previous months, were linked to the high prices of jet fuel, not to a lack of supply. So now, of course, the prices are de-escalating. We will see this in the tickets as well. Of course, always the tickets follow the price after a while. But what we are witnessing now with the discussions that are ongoing between the US and Iran and the possible agreements that would allow free navigation again in the Strait of Hormuz, I think would be the final solution to this crisis. That if it continued, it would have created great problems, not only on supply of fuels, but the possibility of even a global recession.
I want to stay with air travel because a new deal on air passengers' rights is being finalized, and there are some changes, some improvements. Some critics are saying it's minor, slight changes. Others are seeing this as really a strengthening of passengers' rights. Will this really change significantly the way we travel?
Of course, and it is much stronger passenger rights, the strongest passenger rights in the world. Europe will finally have a set of rules for passenger rights that is fair, that is just, that is very supportive to the passengers. And believe me, all the points that we managed to change now on passenger rules are going to affect everyone. From a mother that wants to fly with her kid that's less than 14 years old and she had to pay until today to get a seat next to her kid, to disabled people and people with difficulties who will have many more rights now on planes, to the fact that you will be able to compare prices and have two different prices, whether you want to have a hand luggage with you or not. All these are issues that our passenger, our citizens were telling us all these years. And it took 13 years to finally reach a negotiation agreement. And I'm really happy that under my days, we managed with the Parliament and the Council to find common ground and finally push forward for this. The passengers will still be eligible for compensation if there is a delay more than 3 hours. The amounts are very well known and they remain the same, unchanged. So we only incorporated many more better things in the regulation so as to make it fairer, juster, and more efficient.
And so this will be put in reality for the Europeans in 2027, right?
Yes, it will be in effect a year after the vote, which means that we will
next summer season.
Exactly. We will give a year to the companies to adapt, because one of the other very important aspects of passenger rights is that now the companies will have to inform the passengers of their rights and how to ask for a compensation from the airlines. It is very important to have a clarity, and that the people and the passengers know what they're entitled to and how they can get their compensations.
Well, Commissioner Tzitzikostas, I'm afraid we have to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining us today. And thank you for watching Talking Europe. Stay tuned for more news.